Welcome back to the Mow It Wells Show. I am your host, Alex Wells, aka Mow It Wells, aka Big Mo, aka Mo Lawns, Mo Money. Let's get straight into today's episode. We're going to be talking about when is the right time to hire your very first employee, or what I like to call them, team members or team member. I like to refrain as much as possible from using the word employee. It just kind of has like a negative vibe to it, in my personal opinion. I grew up playing basketball my whole life, middle school, high school, college, a little bit of semi-professional basketball, and teammate, team member just sound better. Like you got the coach and you got the team members, all that. So I just like it better, and it seems to work well when referring to my guys as team members and not employees. So just a little tip right there. But we're going to talk about when is the right time to hire your first guy. And there's going to be a couple of things that start to happen when you realize, oh man, this might be the time. This might be my sign to hire my very first guy. And one of those signs is going to be you're at full capacity. You cannot take on any more lawns. You literally are getting calls and you're turning down bids because you have no more time in the day or on the weekend to mow any more lawns or take on any more work. So at this point, that's one sign. It's like, all right, I might need to hire somebody, because what that does is when you bring that guy on, that frees up some time for you to go out there and do those bids, do those estimates, send those out to the clients, and get more work. Another sign is when your quality might be going down a little bit because you're having to rush because you have too many lawns and you're not able to communicate with your customers as often as you would like to, or as quickly as you would like to. If somebody's emailing you and you're not able to email them back because you're just so overwhelmed with the amount of work you have, and you're taking 3-4 days to email them back, or a client calls you and you're not able to get back to them, or a client is requesting more work, maybe they want their hedges trimmed and that's not in their contract, or, you haven't worked that out with them, and now you can't do it because you don't have enough time, and then they end up finding somebody else. Or that happened to me and my when I first started. There was services that I offered that my clients didn't even know about because I didn't communicate to them, or they would ask me and I would take so long to get back to them because I was so busy, and they would hire somebody else for that work. And now, I'm pulling up to go mow and somebody else is trimming the hedges, and I'm like, what in the mess? So, that might be, that's another sign that it's time to hire that very first guy. And when you are getting ready to hire that first guy, there's a lot of things that need to happen prior to you doing so. These are mistakes that I made when I hired my first guy, and stuff that I would hope this episode will help you not make those same mistakes when it's your time to hire your first guy. And a lot of you guys right now, I know for a fact that right now you need that second guy, or you need that third guy. Running solo, man, I preach this, and this is what my shit is going to end up being, kind of known for, is me always saying, quit running solo. You're running a risk, because you really, really are. And even if you have one guy, you're still kind of at risk, but you're kind of lessening that risk because now that one guy can help you. So kind of got off topic a little bit right there. But anyway, this is my show. I talk about the hell I want to talk about. Anyway, so you're hiring the first guy. First thing you need to do, in my opinion, which is so crazy that we have to say that now, because then it's like, well, if he didn't say in my opinion, he takes it as fact. And oh man, fuck all that. Pardon my French. Anyway, first thing I would do is I would have a CRM before I hired a guy, making sure that there's a schedule, the clients are being billed out, whether you bill out weekly, monthly, every other week, or however you do it, but making sure that there's procedures, systems and procedures that you go through each month or each week that are always the same. So if you're mowing all these ones on Monday, you got your schedule for Monday, you got your schedule for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever, and making sure you have that consistent schedule and you have something. You're not just going off your brain. You're not just like, all right, I know I'm mowing Mrs. Smith, then I'm gonna go mow Mrs. Terry, then I'm gonna go over here to Mrs. Walters and all of that. You know where they're at by heart, blah blah blah. You can't go off that once you start hiring, because they're not gonna learn that fast, and you got to have a system in place. So you need to start doing the things that you would do if you had a guy already working for you. Start doing those things now. That way, when you do hire that first guy, it's an easy transition. Your schedule, making sure you're clocking in and out of every property, because you're going to want your guys to clock out and in and every property. Making sure you're gassing up in the morning or gassing up in the evenings, because you're going to want your guys to do one or the other. You know, not stopping at the gas station all the time. You want to get in these good habits to train your guy and of things to do, that how you want your company to run. So, you know, how your invoicing is done, how they close out a property, you know, what are you doing every day? You should be documenting these things in some sort of word or note that you do every day. Like, this is what I do. I get to either maybe you're going to meet your employees somewhere, your team member somewhere, or they're going to meet you at your house, or maybe you have a shop. So, all right, this is how they clock in, this is how they clock out. You should as well be clocking in and out, because you need to be tracking your hours. Because if you're not tracking your hours, you might not be making as much money as you think you are. You might be working way more than you think you are. Track your hours while you're in the field. So I clocked in at 8 and I'm working till 4. All right, now I'm going to go do estimates from 4 to 5. All right, now I'm going to send those estimates and send invoicing and all this from 5 to 6. So you had a 8-hour labor day or whatever it is, and then you had 2-3 hour estimating and 2-3 hours of office work. So you need to know all these things, because that all breaks down into growing to your company. Knowing those specific numbers helps you when you're bidding jobs, when you're hiring, and everything, man. It all means something. It literally does. Start treating your business like it's a big business right now when you're small. That way, when you start growing, there's less growing pains. Because I didn't do that, and I started to towards the end of being solo and getting my first guy, start tracking everything. But I wish I had been tracking everything when I was solo, because my pricing would have been way better. It's just a whole bunch, man. Just start treating your business how you see it 10 years down the road. Like, all right, you want this big company, you want 10, 20 guys, stuff like that. And start training yourself to think like that now and do the things that those bigger companies are doing. All the information's out there. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it everywhere. So you can see what guys are doing as they're growing. I'm trying to give you the mistakes that I made when I was solo hiring my first guy. So the big thing is, tracking time, giving them a way to clock in and out, whether that's an app on your phone, whether or not that's they're just writing it in, and you're keeping the time card, and they're writing it in and you're writing it in, or whatever. You're calculating their lunch. Make sure you're tracking all these things for when you do hire that first guy, and having these systems in place for that guy. So when he comes in, he knows what's going on. You're at capacity now. You got your systems in place. You're ready to hire your first guy. First thing I did, and I would say in hindsight it was a mistake, was I went immediately to people that I knew, which was dumb. And I should have just do what I do now, put out an Indeed ad or a Facebook job posting or whatever, and started collecting applications instead of trying to find somebody that I knew, because I was too scared to interview people or too scared to bring somebody on, or I don't know what my deal was. But I would not suggest bringing on a family member as your first employee, or bringing on someone that you already know as your first employee. I would go find somebody that you have no emotional connection to. That way there's, you're not, oh, well, he's late every day, but that's my homie, so I'll let it slide. So the first thing you're going to do is go on Indeed or Facebook. You can even have on your website that you have like a spot where people can put in applications. We have one of those on our website. We accept applications year round. Like we always say that we're hiring, because I'd rather have 50, 60 applications for when we are hiring rather than, oh, dang, we need somebody. Now I got to go find these people, then interview them and all that. If I already have some applications, those people might already have jobs, but some of them might not. So you might be able to go back and hit them. Say, hey, you want to come in for an interview? Are you still interested in this position? Blah, blah, blah. So you're going to have your Indeed ad, and you're going to want to do some research on what your copy should say, because you want to make it stand out. Because if it's just your regular degular lawn care helper or whatever, ain't nobody gonna click on it, or you're gonna get the bottom of the barrel guys. So go on Indeed, look at what other lawn and landscaping companies are doing in their Indeed ad. Like go on there like you're looking for a job, and look at theirs and see how those all compare, and find that one that sticks out that looks like, oh yeah, this is super professional, and just mimic that. Change the words around, make it your own, but mimic that style, because you'll see some shit up there that you're like, man, who would even click on this? So you want to make sure that your Indeed job posting is professional, and on Facebook as well, make sure it looks professional. You've got, your pay range, the duties, what's expected of this person, whether or not you're going to require experience, which I would say do not require experience. We'll get into that here in just a second. The days that they're going to be working, the hours they're going to be working. And I like to, when I'm posting them, I open up the hours from like 7 a.m. to like 7 p.m. And then I put in there, this is kind of the range. No day is the same, weather permitting. Weekends, are going to be like kind of on call or whatever the kind of options are. But just explain, like, if it rains on Friday and we didn't finish our list, we got to work Saturday. That way there's just no, it helps with, when you do hire them, just the expectations of, what they're expecting coming in. So that's what you want on your job posting. And then obviously when you do end up bringing them in, you have an employee handbook, and you have all your rules and all that. That way they know what is to be expected, and you're not just springing something on them, and you make them sign that. Whether or not you offer vacation time, any kind of incentive that you can offer to somebody is going to make your job posting more enticing to people and make them want to click on it. You can talk about in your job posting where you're trying to grow your company, and you want this to be a career for people. You can plan it out and write it out, how you see your future. That way they're like, oh, this is like a career. This ain't just a summer job, and if you are going to lay them off in the winter, make sure you put that in there. Don't lie to these people, man, because if you're doing that, you're going to, karma's going to get you, or you're just going to start getting shitty people. Put in there, hey, we're going to work crazy hours, March through October, March through November, whatever it is in your market. We're going to work 40 plus hours. And then, November, December, January, February, it's going to taper down, and we're going to be working maybe 20. Or, hey, I'm just going to lay you off. You can collect unemployment and come back, or I'll let you go. You go get another job. Just be upfront, be super transparent. And obviously, this is where it goes to. This is why you should get your clients to sign contracts. That way, you have work 12 months out the year, because that's very helpful when hiring. Because you can be like, look, we're still working in January. We're not getting 40 hours, but you will still be coming in and getting a paycheck. So encourage them, say, hey, if you manage your money right, in March through October, when we're getting 45 hours, you'll be straight during the winter, and that's when you can kind of kick back and chill, because you're only going to be working maybe 30 hours or something like that. So you just want to encourage them to save their money and budget, blah blah blah. Same thing you do when you're solo and your hours get cut back in the winter. You got that nest egg, that winter fund. So that is one thing, is just the job posting. It's crucial. This is where you become a recruiter, and you really want your job to stand out. So now you're starting to get applications. So what do you do next? So on Indeed, they've got a thing where people can just click on any, apply for any job. Like they just go through and click, boom, and it sends you their resume, and they don't even have to like fill anything out. It just like populates it, boom, boom, boom. So you'll get like, you might get 200, especially if you sponsor it. Like I sponsored one for a week, and I think we got 150 applications. And if I emailed or called all 150, I guarantee you 25% would respond or answer. So just be prepared for that as well. So you get your applications in. Now you're going to go through and you're going to pull up every application. You're going to look at every single resume. You're going to look at everything they have: name, date of birth. I don't even know if it shows you date of birth. It might. I don't know. But if it does, I don't think it does. It doesn't show you date of birth. So you can look at what year they graduated high school, and you can kind of get a range of how old they are. That's what I do. So you're looking at all these things, and you're going to start, hitting like, no, I'm not interested in this guy, not interested in this guy. You'll be able to see their experience. If you see a guy that's had 7 different jobs in the last 2 years, that's probably not the guy you want to hire, because he's jumping from job to job. So you want to find resumes that have long periods of time, like at one place, 1 or 2 years here, 1 or 2 years here, 3 years here, or somebody that's either coming out of high school or coming out of college. Look for those things. And then narrow it down, get you, a nice pool of 10, 15 people, and then start emailing them. And then also on Indeed, it's got an assessment that you can send them, and they can do this assessment, and it gives you a score. And there's different ones you can send. It just kind of like there's one that's a really good one that I use as a reliability assessment. And so basically it tells you if they're going to be reliable or not, based off of their answers for this assessment. I think it takes like a minute. And just sending that assessment is going to tell you a lot about the person, because a lot of them won't even do the assessment. So if you send the assessment and they don't fill it out, then don't call that person. Or you can reach out and say, hey, I sent you an assessment. If you're still interested, make sure you do the assessment. It'll kick me your score back or whatever, then I'll get back to you. But the ones that do, like, immediately do that assessment, and you get the results back and they're within what you want, man, give those people a call. Or if somebody's put an app in and they've called you or emailed you to check on the application, always give those people a chance during an interview, because their resume might not be the greatest, but they are actively looking for a job and seeking employment because they called you, and they to check on their resume or check on their application. And a lot of people don't even do that. So that kind of tells you, this guy or girl really does want a job and is really looking for something. So that's another sign to bring them on in for the interview. So now you've got you've narrowed it down. You've contacted these people. You've contacted, let's say, 10 people. You've talked to them on the phone, you can do even like a quick phone interview, and then just hear their voice, get to know them, see how they're talking. There's a lot of different things. You can just catch a vibe from talking to them on the phone, and you can have like a list of 3 or 4 questions that you want to ask them. It doesn't have to be super detailed, because you want to save those for the interview, but you could ask basic questions. Do you have a driver's license? Do you have reliable transportation to and from work? That's a big one, because there's no point in bringing somebody in for an interview that you're going to have to pick up and drop off all day, or that's never going to have a ride, or whatever the case may be. So those are kind of important upfront questions you want to ask to make sure if they're even worth bringing in for an interview. So say you do that with 10 people, you narrow that down to 5 or 4 or 6, whatever. Now these are the people that you're going to interview. So you're going to have another paper application with you whenever you meet these people. So before I had my shop, I would always meet everybody at Starbucks. I would say, hey, let's meet at Starbucks XX address at 9 a.m. I'll be sitting outside. We'll meet whatever. So I would have a clipboard with me, and then I would have another application, a paper application, and a pen. And I'd have them fill that out. And as they're filling that out, I'm just talking to them, just real light, just, what's your name, blah, 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 just little stuff. And then once they get that filled out, I ask them, hey, do you have a copy of your resume? If they even have one. If they did bring one with them, man, I'd hire them right there. Nah. But if they did bring one with them, that's a huge bonus. But if they didn't, you can always pull it up on Indeed and look at it there. So on your application, you just find one online and print it off. Make sure it's got references. So you're going to want to get at least 3 references as far as people to call. And then you want their past 2 or 3 employers, as you want to get their phone number, who their manager was, all that. So you're going to review it, talk to them, ask them why they left their last position. Just literally, you could just get on Google and type in, what interview questions to ask, blah, blah, blah. Figure out what you want to ask them, you don't want to spend way too much time, but you don't want to spend too little time. You want to make sure you're asking these good questions. And this brings me to the biggest point, and this is one of the biggest mistakes I made, and we kind of covered it in a couple episodes ago, but I was hiring off of skill rather than hiring off of character for like the first 4 years of my business. If they had any, because most of the time when I was hiring, it'd be like summer, and I was like, I ain't got time to train. Come on, boom. You know, you got the skills. You know how to run a weed eater. You know how to mow. You know how to do all that. All right, you're hired. And if I would have just that bit me in the ass so many times. I hired so many guys that had a resume of mowing, because a lot of people in the landscape lawn care industry, as you know, and as you'll learn, the turnover rate's high. You're going to have guys in and out, and that's why it's like the age old saying, hire slow, fire fast. So just because they don't have experience, they might say, well, I mowed my grass growing up, or I mowed my mom's lawn, I mowed my granny's lawn, da da da. That's not really experience. So don't think that that's experience. That's not. If they worked for a commercial company before, that's considered experience. So they might not have no commercial experience, which is fine. You're looking at them as a character. How do they present themselves? What are their goals in life? Do they even have goals in life? One question I like to ask is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And just shoot it to them straight, man. I always tell them, it's like, look, don't give me no bullshit. Just tell me where you see yourself in 5 years. And if they're honest with you, if they say, I want to go to college, whatever it is, that's a plus, because that means they're a trustworthy person. They're honest. But if they sit there and say, oh, well, I want to be, working with you in 5 years, man, don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Give me your honest, answer. So you're looking for stuff like that. Are they maintaining eye contact with you? Are they nervous? Are they on drugs? You'll quickly be able to tell, because believe it or not, you will get people to come in the interview that are drunk, high up their ass, or look like they just rolled out of a corner of a bridge. It's wild. Unless you're doing a lot of that pre-work. So, get to know them. What's their family life like? Do they have any kids? Where'd they go to high school? What do they do for fun? Ask them those type of questions. Don't even worry about asking them about, can you mow, or this, that, and the other. Man, that you can teach them all that. You can literally teach them all that. So get to know them a little bit. Let them know also, like, hey, man, I care about you. Like, if you're going to be working with me and we're going to be team members, we're going to be teammates, we're going to be together. We're going to be in the truck together. So I want to know, can I trust you? I want to know what you like, what you don't like, blah, blah, blah. So figure that out, man. Get those good questions and hire off of character, not skill. So now you've interviewed 3 or 4 guys or girls, and you're trying to narrow it down. You got these 3, 4 people. You got to see, you're like, all right, what is this person? Am I hiring somebody just to help me get through the summer, or am I hiring somebody that eventually could run this crew, and I could start another crew, and they could have somebody in the truck with them? I could build another crew and then copy and paste. So you got to kind of figure that part out too, because what I would suggest, hey, Mac, you're calling me right now, but I'm recording a podcast. I'll hit you right back. So what I would suggest is hire somebody that would be able to take your position. So obviously they have a driver's license. They have enough sense about them that you could teach them everything, and, that you could see them running a truck. So you're looking for that. My first guy would not be just like a weed eater helper guy. I wouldn't do that. A lot of guys make that mistake, and they end up just now being a 2-man team rather than just being solo, and they're still doing the same shit. They're just doing more and maybe making more money. But then you're running more. You're running almost the same amount of risk, if not even more, because, oh man, we'll get into. We're gonna go right down it. So you got your 2 guys, you and somebody else. Now you're doing almost, not double the lawns, but you're doing, let's say, 75% more. So what if he quits on you? Now you've got all these lawns that it was taking 5 days with 2 guys, and now you're by yourself. So you got to think about that. That's why you want to hire sooner than later. So you have like, you got 4 or 5, you got 4 full days of mowing, go ahead and hire that guy. You got 3 full days of mowing, go ahead and hire that guy. And then build the schedule up and hire that third guy, because that third guy is the most crucial one. We'll get into that. That's a whole nother episode. I'll be ranting, man. My brain, I'll start thinking of things and I'll get off topic. Well, not off topic, but I'll start like, oh, well, that scenario, this, that. So it's really hard for me, especially on these solo podcasts, because I don't have anybody asking me questions or bouncing ideas off of me. So it's like I'm kind of talking to my old self, which I always say, but then I think, oh, well, then you're going to make this mistake. So anyway, the first hire should be somebody that you can see taking your spot, that can run, that you think will be able to learn all the skills, that they have the character traits to run the crew or run that truck by themselves or with somebody else that's not you. So right away, you're obviously teaching them the basics, blah, blah, blah. You're getting them good training. You're showing them everything that you like, how you clock in and out on the app, on the CRM, how to mix the gas. Just the basic things, man. The things that you think are redundant and stupid, and you got to start showing them all that. All the little things like mixed gas, like this is where we put the trimmers when we get back to the shop, or just, you need to show them everything. And that also all needs to be documented in your standard operation procedures, your SOPs, so they can go back and refer to those SOPs when they have a question, or, in the employee handbook. And another thing, which I should have said this earlier, when you do hire your first guy, you're going to have workman's comp. You don't have to have it when you're solo, but when you do hire your first guy, you have to have workman's comp, and you're going to go through your state to get that. And that's going to go on, it's going to be an extra charge that they're going to charge you for your insurance or whoever it goes through. And then you're going to be paying payroll taxes. Now, do not 1099 them. I repeat, do not 1099 your guy. Go ahead and make it legit, make it legal. They are technically not a 1099. The definition of a 1099, I don't know off the top of my head, but is basically if you are telling them when to be to work and they're using your equipment, they're not a 1099. A 1099 is somebody that has their own equipment and you're hiring them for a job and you're not telling them when and what to do. It's like when and where to be. They can kind of just do that on their own. Like they're a subcontractor. So this is an employee. So you are going to have to pay payroll taxes, and it does cost more. So if you're hiring them in at $20 an hour, buddy, you're paying more than that. I promise you. So when you're crunching your numbers, just go ahead and add in maybe $5 extra for all the extra shit that you're going to have to pay. So just be cognizant of that for when you're initially bidding your prices. If you're bidding it at $60 for this one lawn that takes me an hour, that's for one guy. What about when you have payroll taxes and you have workman's comp, insurance, all that? So you got to start thinking about that, man. This all ties back together to just making sure you have a plan and you're sticking to that plan. Like you start with the end in mind when starting your business, because I didn't do that. A lot of guys don't. But if I could go back, I would say, all right, where do I want this thing to go? And it's hard to even think like that because you think it's so hard, like so far in the future. You don't even have like 10 clients yet, but it's like, man, go ahead and envision it, because you're going to make it happen. I promise you. You're going to get the clients. You're going to get the employees. You're going to get the team members. You're going to make a lot of money, and you're going to boost the economy because you're offering jobs. So think with the end in mind. So you've now got your first guy. You've hired him. It's somebody that's going to be able to replace you in the truck. After your first, 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever, you've got them comfortable on the trimmer, all the, the mower. They're comfortable with all the tools and machines. Now it's time to get them in the driver's seat. Start driving. And you can start riding. And while you're riding, guess what you could do? Office work. If you got an iPad, phone, whatever it may be, you can start replying back to customers. You can start scheduling out estimates. You can start sending estimates. There's so much more you can do when you're not driving, and you get to utilize that time throughout the day, which could be an hour, 2, 3 hours of downtime spread across, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, but you can get a lot done that you're not going to have to do when you get back to the shop or back to the office or back to your house. So you could utilize that time. So that's a big move when they start driving. And then you're showing them, they know how to do everything that you could do when you were driving. They could basically run the route without you. That's basically what you're trying to get them to be able to do. You want them to be able to run that route without you. So now we'll go into it. We're going to go another 5 to 10 minutes. We can get right into this too. So now you've got this guy. Y'all are busy. You're now able to schedule more jobs because you could send him out in the morning, and then you can meet up with him, towards the, after an hour or so, you can meet up with him and mow the rest of the yards, or y'all are just getting done faster because it's two of y'all and you're able to go do estimates. So utilize that time. So you're doing more estimates. You're getting more clients. So now it's like, oh crap, we're super busy. Now it's time to bring in that third guy. Now this third guy, when you're hiring this person, you don't necessarily have to hire such a great quote unquote person, because this guy is going to be just a trimmer guy, or just your number two guy. That's how we label our guys. You got our driver, which is the crew leader. He's the one, and then you have a number two, which is kind of like a hybrid guy. Like he could eventually maybe be a crew leader, but he's like the secondary mower guy. He's using the walk behind, using the stand on, not trimming all day like the trimmer guy is. And then you got your 3 or 4, depending on how many guys you got. Your 3 and 4 are usually trimmer guys that, we still let them mow, but they're predominantly trimming, doing all that stuff. They're, not as skilled, or maybe haven't been with the company as long. So this next guy you hire, your third guy, is going to be one of those. And at this point now, there could be certain days that you're running the 3-man crew. So it's you, your second guy, your crew leader, and then your third guy. And then some days you just send them 2 out, and you're going out doing estimates, taking care of office work, getting things done, repairing mowers, whatever, what have you. And you're freeing up some of your time to grow, because now you're working on your business and not in your business. So you might only starting off with the 3-man crew, you might only be able to do that 1 day a week. So that y'all get done Friday, boom. You're letting them go out, they knock out the yards on Friday, and you got a whole day to do estimates and stuff like that. And you just literally keep doing the same thing until you got 2 crews. And then you're completely out of the field, and all you're doing now is dealing with your customers, you're selling, doing estimates. You've got, one of your head guys, you label him your operations manager, so he's doing the scheduling. He's doing all that. And you now have so much more time to work on your business and grow it, and really understand the numbers, understand the accounting part of it, understand what's what. That way you can keep growing it and build this business that you always dreamed of. And right now, it seems like it could be so far out in the future, but it doesn't have to be. You could start these things next week. So when is the best time to hire your first guy? Right now. Hire him right now. And it's going to light a fire into your ass to make sure you get enough work to get this guy 40 hours. You might be getting 50 hours right now. Go ahead and hire that first guy. It's going to take a minute to train him up. So it's, you're going to be getting done with the lawns faster, but you're going to make sure he's getting some hours, and then you're going to be able to go out and sell and get more jobs. So I encourage you guys, man, plan for the future. Go ahead and start hiring. Come up with your end goal in mind right now, even if you're already in year 3, year 4, and you really don't know how far and how big you want to take this thing. But go ahead and start thinking about that now and document it. Write it down and work backwards. It's pretty easy to figure out, if you've got 3 guys, 4 guys working with you, or even just yourself, you can pretty much do the math and figure out how much one guy can make for you in your business. And then say, if you want $1 million company, you just run that math and divide it up and figure out, all right, this is how many guys I need. This is how many trucks I need. This is how many properties I need, with just your averages of all the numbers all the data you've collected. That's why it's important to start collecting that data day one and keeping it with you, man. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode, man. I really appreciate you guys listening or watching. Subscribe to everything. Mow It Wells Show on Instagram, Mow It Wells Show on the podcast, all podcast platforms, and Mow It Wells Show on YouTube. And check out the links in the description of this video. We still have our code with FemPrint, so make sure you guys are utilizing that when you get your new uniforms, because you want to stand out from the competition. And there's literally no better way to do that than with FemPrint's shirts and hats, man. They people are gonna see you from a mile away, and they look clean. They look like a real professional business. And when you got 8-9 guys going around all day with all the same outfits like these FemPrint shirts, man, it just looks good. And you get compliments all the time. So check them out. Use that discount. I appreciate you guys. DM me, email me if you have any questions or any topics you'd like me to cover. And you know what it is, man. Mow lawns, mow money.